Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of the Health Made Simple show. Oh, have I logged in as Dr. Bart? That's okay. So, as per usual, I'm just going to go live on Facebook here while people start to come on. Say hi in the chat once you've logged on. I am calling in from a bit of a different location today because I am all the way at Coral Bay in north of my state. So I'm just going to give me a sec here, go live while you guys start to come on. So say hi in the chat. Let me know where you are calling in from. I know where some of you are calling in from, but say hi while we wait for Dr. Bart to come in. We're going to have a cool show today. Okay, we are streaming live on Facebook. So today we are going to talk about some of the most common questions we get asked all the time. So it's going to be kind of fun. Sam Alexander, Sandy Springs, Georgia. Well, that's cool. That's another place I haven't been. I'm excited for when the borders open up and I'm allowed to travel again, that's for sure. So as I said, we've kind of compiled a bunch of the questions that we get the most often, and we are going to dive into them. Oh, Sam, it's next door to Atlanta. Oh, okay, well, I have been to Atlanta. I've been to Atlanta once. And I had a really good time. Went to a really cool conference there, so it was good. Hey, Dr. Bart in the house.
And P. Diddy in the house. It is actually P. Diddy's birthday.
Oh, really?
Yes, indeed.
How old is she?
Well, we think that P. Diddy is about 4.
Okay, that's good.
Right? So this has been her special day. So she's going to at least a little while, and then at some point she's going to go eat dinner here tonight. I tell you what, I'm excited about tonight because this is they're all fun, but this is fun.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be fun.
This is like the for those of you just popping on, of course, and then for those, or let me know when we go live on Facebook as well, Karen. We're on. All right. So for everyone that's on Facebook or on Zoom here, welcome, welcome. I got P. Diddy with me. It is P. Diddy's birthday. I gotta. Truth is, her name is not P. Diddy. Her name is Paris, and Paris was out tonight. So tonight is a compilation of like the top questions I get. Some of them random, but I get these over and over, especially like in clinic, like doing clinical stuff, and just kind of some are random, some are just cool tidbits. But these are the things. Get your notebook out. Make sure you like send this one out because this is just fun stuff that real simple, real easy. So this is the one I would say that continue to spread it out. Spread the love, share it out, and know that these are little simple health tips. So I'm excited to do this, and this will be a little fun over this next little bit. Hopefully, we can get to all 10. Can you guys? Do you hear her snorting? Yeah. All right. So, and then again, so if you have questions, so for those of you that are here, whether you're on Facebook or we're here live with us Zoom, ask your questions, there's a little chat section, I guess, down below. Make sure you just ask your questions there, and then we'll get rolling here. So, welcome everyone. Nice to have everyone here again tonight. So Karen, I'm going to pass it off to you.
Yeah, look, Welcome, guys, as Dr. Bart said, to the Health Made Simple show. I like to start always by introducing our host, Dr. Bart, who has been a healthcare provider for over 20 years, practicing a range of modalities, including chiropractic, acupuncture, kinesiology, nutrition and supplementation, and functional testing at his clinic, Balance Health Studio in Seagrove Beach, Florida. He's also the founder of the Health Edge program, which is a virtual health program for entrepreneurs and executives wanting to take their health to the next level. So he has worked with thousands of people all around the world, including celebrities, athletes, people from anywhere around the States and the country through his virtual consultations. And so we are so lucky to learn from him every week. And this week especially, because we're going to dive into these questions that people ask. And we were chatting about it before the show, and I learned something already. So I'm excited to dive in.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. So let's dive right in. And again, if you guys have questions, so it's almost like a Q&A tonight. These are really your questions that we came up with. So if you got questions, throw them out. And of course, as I go through this, just a reminder that, none of this is designed for me to give you doctor advice, right? So I'm not playing your doctor here today. But nonetheless, use this advice to level up your health the best that you can, and keep doing the thing, keep spreading out, keep sharing the love. These are these simple health tips. You're going to see some of these when we talk about them. You can be like, oh, really? It's that simple to fix that, or that's what that means. All right. So Karen, let's dive right in. What do you got for me?
Yeah, let's start. Let's start with number one. How do you lower cholesterol naturally?
Okay. Cholesterol naturally. And then I just saw a message here. I don't know. Are we live on Facebook? I think someone said they haven't seen us live yet, but nonetheless.
We are live on Facebook.
Yeah. So to answer that question, this is an awesome question to ask. And this is one of the most common ones I get. So everyone listen to me closely. I'm going to give you information of how to understand your cholesterol panel, like most likely probably a little better than your doctor understands it, and how to interpret it, and then how to navigate what to do with it. So when we look at it, before I even tell you how to lower it, it's how to look at it. The challenge we have right now with cholesterol is that there's a single number that is 200. That is the number that if you're under it, they say you're okay. If you're above it, they say that you're a little bit high. And I will tell you, you can be at 204, and they will say you're slightly high. Just for precautionary reasons, let's go ahead and put you on a statin. And that right there could be one of the worst mistakes that you make in your life, because we know that statins downregulate hormones and all other kinds of things. So again, not even commenting on the medication or the drugs. Let's understand what's taking place when we talk about cholesterol. First of all, we want to have a healthy cholesterol response. In order to do that, we need to know all the different markers. So for ease sakes tonight, what I want you to do, because most of you have your lab work, here's a couple things you can do to see if you're having a healthy cholesterol response. First, we want to know the ratios. And most of you have heard about this, but I'm going to give them to you so you can write them down tonight. First thing is you're going to take your total cholesterol, and let's just say it's 220. You're going to minus 100. So that would be 120. That's where your Ldls, which they call your bad guys, that's about where they should land. If they land around 100, 110, 105, 95, 110, whatever, if it's close to that, that at least tells us that you are having a healthy cholesterol response with your LDLs. So now let's go to the HDLs. The HDLs, which we consider your good guys, we want those numbers up pretty good. I like to see those between 70 and 100, but most importantly, again, is the ratio. So what you're going to do here is take your HDLs and divide it by your total cholesterol, and we want that number to be at least 25%. 25% or above. So if you have your numbers in front of you, just take LDL, your HDLs, like 65 divided by 200, and you'll see that'll be like, I don't know, 32. That was quick in my head. I have no idea. So it might be somewhere around there, but that would say, man, you're having a good cholesterol response. So here's the thing about cholesterol. It's very important for us to understand. It's very much like your thumbprint. It's very unique to every one of us. So my cholesterol level is supposed to be different than yours and Karen's and the next person. So all of us being plugged into one statistical normal for cholesterol is actually very dangerous when it comes to our metabolic bodies. So the next thing, just kind of what we want to do in the event that you got to lower it, there are some things that when we look at the cholesterol levels, they tell you what's going on. So if you have high triglycerides, That'll be when you get your cholesterol panel. Hopefully they're not just running one number. If you get your triglyceride number and that is high, it screams bad diet. So if you have high triglycerides, you got bad diet. So there's no way around that one. There's another marker that isn't always bad diet, but that one says high carbohydrates, high sugar, bad fats. What do I mean by bad fats? It's your fried foods, that's your canola oil, and that's where it gets a little tricky. So that's one marker you want to definitely look for. If it's high triglycerides, you got to clean up your diet. Number 2 would be high LDLs, and here's where it gets a little tricky, Karen. LDLs, which we consider your bad guys. I already told you that the great ratio would be take your total, subtract 100, that's where about you want your LDLs. If that number is high, that too can be related to your sugars, can be your carbohydrates. But if you look back and those triglycerides are not high, then we have to go, oh, then why isn't, maybe it's not diet. And usually that can be indicative of too much inflammation in the body and often stress. And that's something our doctors don't tell us about. That stress can cause your LDLs to go up. So we got to keep that in the back of our mind. All right. So that's how we understand the panel. And then what do we naturally do to lower? I tell you, the number one thing, folks, is lower your carbohydrates. Carbohydrates and sugar got to go, because carbohydrates and sugar cause inflammation. Inflammation causes damage on the arterial wall. And then your body makes cholesterol, LDLs, to heal the wall. So remember, LDLs, as much as we're trying to lower cholesterol, they are there 100% to save your life. If you lower them unnaturally, you are putting yourself at risk, period. And I get it. If it's too high, we have to just weigh out the risk. But that's a real important one to understand here. So, and again, so the third one is, you're going to lower the cholesterol. The second one is we're going to make sure that, we're going to kind of make sure the ratio is good, low carbohydrates. We know our healthy levels. And then the third part of it is we're going to make sure that we don't avoid good cholesterol. So here's the challenge. I hear so many people often say, well, I don't eat meat. I don't eat eggs. And they say it's because they don't want the high cholesterol. Well, if you don't eat it, your body will make it. Remember, it's like a thumbprint. Your body's designed to be at a certain level. If you drop below that level, your body's going to try to make more. So if you eat it, your body will make less. So do not be afraid of healthy cholesterols. What are those? That's the eggs, that's the meat, that's the butter, all that good stuff. All the stuff they've been kind of telling us to stay away from. So in terms of healthy cholesterols, that's it that's it in a nutshell. Again, that one right there is worthy of you. I don't know if you can share these out or not, but if you can spread them out, share them out. Understanding healthy cholesterol levels, it's been a big and continues to be a big, kind of like this wave of poor information. So get that one right and you're going to change your life. All right.
It's a huge one. I think, especially just quickly, that if people can even just get that first bit where everybody gets treated the same, I love that was the beginning. Like if you get that number, that ends up being, hey, take a statin. And as you're saying, there's some things we can do to kind of dissect that a little bit, have a look, and then do some things naturally to try and improve it if there is actually an issue there at all.
Yeah. And that's it, Karen. It's if there's really an issue there at all. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Should we move on to the next one?
Let's do it.
All right. So number 2, is fasting different for men and women?
Okay. This is a great question. There's a big yes to this. There's a big, massive yes. We are not built differently. We've got different metabolisms, especially because women cycle. We have to keep that in mind. So without going too deep into fasting or intermittent fasting, in general, I'll give you some generalities. Generally, for men, once we get familiar with, we've built ourselves up. We've fasted for 12 hours a night regularly for a couple of weeks. Then we bump to 14 hours. Then we get to 16 hours. Men do generally very, very good. Oh, dog barking for food. Men do generally very good between 16 and 18 hours on a daily basis. Women, not so much. Women do very good and have very, very good results with intermittent fasting between 14 and 16 hours. But hold on a minute. This is where the big difference plays. And there's 2 more things I want to talk about fasting here. So one, women, when you're moving into the week before your cycle, that 5-7 days, when you know your body's changing a little bit, your body's starting to slough off all those cells, your body's already under stress. That is not the time to be fasting. So hear me out. So listen, I say this, Karen, because I see so many women using the fasting. They get used to it and they don't want to stop fasting because they think they're going to gain weight.
Yeah.
Wait till you got the second part of this. That is so important. During that like 4, 5, 7 days, you stop your fasting, you stop your carb counting, and you just kind of normalize. You do not want to double down on the stress on your body. You can create more hormone issues. You will downregulate your thyroid during that time. So you'll hear fasting can mess up thyroids, but that's when and how. So just be really, really mindful. If you're a female, you're out there, you're fasting. I love it. I could go on and on with the benefits of intermittent fasting, but we also have to be very, very smart. It should never feel forced. And that's why I like the gradual, we're getting our bodies become fat adapted, 12 hours, 14, 16. Women generally do good between 14 and 16 hours. And one, like that week right before your period begins, we just kind of toss a towel. One more thing here. Diet variation is critical. We cannot fast every day. We have to have variation taking place. And that variation is, of course, variation with our food, but also variation with quantity and how much time we're fasting, which means that we have to have feast days. It's another area I see people really mess up. Feast days don't mean cheat days, but even if they are cheat days, we have to have variation in it. The human body is designed to figure out what is the most efficient, AKA easiest way to get by with what you're doing. So if you give it the same thing every single day, I'm going to fast 18 hours, fast 18 hours, fast 18 hours. It will figure out how to do that, and you will start to plummet your results. So the quick answer to this, yes, it's very different for men and women. We want to make sure that if you're a cycling woman, that you make sure that the week before that you are, taking a time out, and then all of us need diet variation. We must have feast days.
And when you say time out for women before their cycle, can they still do 12 hours? Is that still okay anytime really? That's not really counted as stressful fasting, or is there a time?
There really is. And that's a great question, because 12 hours, 12 hours I consider just normal.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We should at any given time, 12 hours be easy breezy. It's not going to have a hormonal impact. It should just be easy breezy. And that's probably the right number. We drop back somewhere in that 10 to 12 hours. You get up and you comfortably have breakfast, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause that's really just giving your digestion a break anyway. It's almost not fasting. It's just not eating all the time.
Yeah, that's what it really is. It's just not eating all the time is what it is. Yes.
Yeah. Because really, yeah. Otherwise, were we meant to really eat until not keep snacking after dinner until 9, 10 p.m. at night, and then wake up and eat again at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. or whatever. It's a lot of eating.
Yeah. We laugh about it, yet that's what we do. That's what we do here in our country. That's what we're doing worldwide. So, literally we have dinner, then right before bed, you have a snack, and let's just say that's 10 o'clock, and you wake up at 6 a.m., usually you're having something in the first half hour, 45 minutes being up. So you're only talking about 7.5, 8.5 hours, which is really not fasting at all. Your gut's barely digesting that. So, at least working up to 12 hours, I recommend that for everybody. And then the fast, getting into that 14 and 16 hours for females, 16 and 18 hours for males is that's living well. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. All right. Should we move on to number 3?
Do it.
Let's do it. Number 3. How do I determine if I have adrenal fatigue?
All right. So
yeah,
I'll tell you what. I'll give you the gold standard, and then I'll answer where you can really start to see some unique symptoms. The gold standard to really test for adrenal dysfunction, and to clear something up for us. So adrenal fatigue is not, in functional medicine, we recognize adrenal fatigue really as adrenal dysfunction. So someone, their doctor, and be like, well, there's no such thing as adrenal fatigue. There is adrenal dysfunction. And the gold standard of testing that is we're figuring that out, is a test. And that's it's a functional test, and it has to be through saliva. So when people bring me their cortisol tests, you can do a blood test and they'll say, oh, I tested your cortisol. And it's a one-shot deal of where your cortisol was in that moment. That's good for that moment, but we need to know what it's doing through the course of the day. So we're seeing how the gland is responding through the course of the day. So the gold standard is doing what we call an ASI, an adrenal stress index. That's a test. It's a saliva test. You test at least 4 vials through the course of the day. So we see your cortisol production, which should be high in the morning and go down through the day. So that is the gold standard, and that really gives you some great insight. Now, with that being said, there's some classic symptoms that go with that. One is just you're tired. You sleep and you are tired in the morning. And it's not just, well, I got a bad sleep last night, but you're tired every day. Listen, if you're getting 8 hours of sleep, you should feel rested. You should have mental clarity. The second is that you now know that you need something, whether it's caffeine, food, or some other version of a stimulant to get your motor running. That without it, you're not running. So that's a symptom number 2. There's some other oddball ones here. So if you don't heal well, like if you get scratched by your dog and all of a sudden your skin literally is getting thinner, that's a sign that your adrenals are really getting tired. Your adrenal glands store about 70 to 80% of all the body's vitamin C. And vitamin C is what heals the skin. So when your adrenals are toast, your immune system is also deficient. So what we'll see clinically is that people go, I used to recover a lot faster. So the common cold, instead of 2 days, is now 2 weeks. Exercise is a great one. If you find that exercise is actually making you more sore and you're thinking, oh, I must be getting old, most likely your adrenals can't keep up, and that's adrenal dysfunction. So those are some classic symptoms. Bruising easy can roll into that, and we'll talk about that later as well, I think, in one of these questions. Unmotivated, depressed, yeah. These are real things because your adrenal glands produce a hormone called cortisol, and if they're always pushed, your body becomes toxic, meaning that it becomes inflamed. That inflammation will downregulate dopamine, and your feel-good hormone just gets smothered is what happens. So you'll see someone that has adrenal fatigue just become apathetic. Their zest, their joy for life just starts to deplete, and so does their body.
Yeah, and I think and the test, it's a saliva test. I think there's a lot of people that just become that becomes their new normal. You know, feeling just a little bit like tired or having to have coffee first thing in the morning, feeling a little bit of that, a little bit apathetic, feeling a little bit off. It becomes their new normal. You know, we're so busy and stressed out. We just keep going, and we don't take the time to stop and just say, hey, some of these symptoms are leading to some of these things that we're talking about. You know, perhaps we need to have a look. Is there something happening here?
Yeah, you know what? Another classic symptom of adrenals getting pushed on the way to fatigue is craving salt.
Yeah.
Especially the midday when no matter what you think of, all you can think of is like chips and just salty stuff. Again, those are electrolytes. The salt, which is really the sea salt, the minerals are very, very important for adrenal health. So vitamin C, minerals, those are all things that feed adrenal health. That's why I always recommend, you guys will hear me say, put a little pinch of sea salt in your water.
Yeah.
That works as, a mineral replacement, supports the adrenals, supports the kidneys, support the electrolyte system.
Yeah. Okay. And guys, if you're listening to this, I've ordered my test. So I have it. I've just got to take it. So, so really, because, as I'm listening to this, I think we all get busy. We get into a bit of a cycle, and then, some of these symptoms start ringing true for a lot of us. And so it's good to take the time I know I've taken the time to order a test myself, thinking, oh, hey, there's some good data that we can get. It's a really simple test. We're able to ship it from you in the US all the way to me in Australia, which is like super cool, right? That we can do things virtually all across the world. So, guys, we'll put some details in as well if this is something that you want to order, so that you can get one as well.
I tell you what, let's Karen, if we can't do it now live, let's make sure that everything we mentioned will be in their notes so they can just like fill up their notebook with all the little things. Just,
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
so it's not a question that we have tonight, but what should be a question is, what do you do when you know what to do, but you still don't do it?
That is a very good question. Yeah. Yeah. What do you do? What do you do?
What are you
You know
doing?
what? You reach out and you get somebody to help you, because sometimes or this is my answer to the question, sometimes but you need someone to go through it with you or tell you or like handhold you. Everybody needs a coach sometimes.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That's you guys met my coach last week, Raul.
Yeah.
We all have coach. Like, I think coaching is, like, have that accountability partner is absolutely critical. So
Yeah. All right, cool. Adrenals, big topic. But we're up to number 4. So should we do number 4?
Let's do it.
This is a big one too. Okay. I can't lose weight even though I have a good diet and exercise help.
Yeah, this is a big one. Okay.
Yeah.
So we just ran our 30-day challenge. And for those of you that ran with us, awesome. And we're going to do one more thing. We're going to finish up tomorrow night. But, so the nature of my business, I've run into people almost daily that will tell me, one, I have a good diet, I exercise all the time, and I cannot lose weight. What's going on? All right, so we're going to break this down into kind of 4 things. But follow me. I'm going to make them simple, but we're going to break it down into 4 things. 1, defining a good diet it has a huge variable. So good diet, some people, Karen, will tell me, I have a good diet. This happened today. I have a good diet. I no longer eat meat. And all of a sudden my eyebrows raise and I go, okay, that means there's a whole group of nutrients you might be missing out on. So I don't know if it's good anymore. And then they'll be like, I don't eat any more fats. Like, oh, booger. That means that all you eat is carbohydrates, vegetables, but, and then other, simple carbohydrates and stuff like that. So here, when it comes to a good diet, we got to make sure that we have a good diet. And first thing I would tell that individual that would ask that question, which is often, first thing I'd have them do is just look at the overall amount of carbohydrates that they're eating. Again, there's in the diabetes world, there's a number of 70. 70 is the net grams of carbohydrates you want to stay under. If you're above 70 net grams per day, your body is going to be running off of sugar, off of carbohydrates. That being said, here's probably the most important thing when it comes to diet. This in a nutshell. So let's just say I just scratched the carbohydrates right there. You've got to get yourself clean. You've got a 100% diet of organic and non-GMO. Chemicals are the primary thing in a fat cell. So hear me out. Chemicals are the primary thing in a fat cell. And if we keep the chemicals coming in, even though it may seem innocent, there's a chance that things like your liver just can't handle detox any faster. So that's number 1. Number 2, we'll call that diet. The next thing is going to be how we move. This is interesting, Karen. So a lot of the people that I see that tell me they have a perfect diet and are always exercising, often they are over-exercising.
Yeah.
It's big time. And I usually want to recommend that they tone it down. I say you got to move your body, not kill your body.
Yeah. And we were talking about this before the show, because for me, I mean, I love to run and I like high impact exercise, but to be honest, when it comes to weight loss, the thing that has like in the past, the thing that's moved the needle, if I do need to, if I want to lose weight, is actually doing yoga, because I have a pretty, potentially full-on life, as we're talking about with the adrenal test. I tend to have a lot going on. So stress, is something that I need to actively manage. And to be honest, that's the piece that just makes I think really helps just make my body let go of some of the weight. And that's doing yoga. If I bump my yoga up to 3-5 times a week even, and really make sure that I'm committed to that practice. And I usually do quite a long one. I do like an hour and a half yoga class, but when I commit to that, that's actually the thing that moves my weight way more than any high intensity interval training sessions, any stuff I've done with personal trainers, anything else. The number one thing that has the biggest impact when it comes to movement is yoga.
Yeah. And interesting, because on my end of it, there's, and everyone thinks, oh, high intensity interval training, all of that, hammer. And I'll often ask these same people that tell me you have the perfect diet and all the exercise, how many days a week they're exercising. It's 6 to 7. And it's just physically too much. So cortisol is what you produce when you have tissue breakdown. Cortisol is a natural anti-inflammatory in the body. If we have too much of it, it ends up creating more fat storage for us. So it's because it releases it, it tells your liver to release sugar. Sugar makes insulin go up. Insulin stores our food as fat. So too much exercise. And again, oftentimes it's really an issue here. So just on that topic right there with exercise, sleep. It is true when you Google and people say you can actually, sleep off your weight, you can. I know that sounds crazy. We metabolize when we sleep. So that's an important thing. So if you're not getting, females, 8 hours is your benchmark, period. Like it is, it's just 8 hours is your benchmark. So if you're not getting that amount of sleep, keep leveling the bar up. I use an Oura ring and stuff like that. And I think we have a sleep question later, but let me move on with that. So we had the diet, of course, we got to get clean. We got to make sure that our good diet is technically a good diet. That means God's garden is really what that means. We're going to make sure that our mindset is right. We're not stressed out and we don't have, and that's why the yoga, I think, works so effective. It gets you out of that sympathetic dominance and gets you into sympathetic. And that's when we rest and digest. That's the metabolic activity that we're looking for. Moving, of course, we got to move properly. Don't overdo it. And then the last thing, maybe if people are really, really stuck, sometimes you got to run some labs. Sometimes you got to see what else is going on. One of the biggest things plaguing our country right now, and probably over there as well, is insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is when for a couple of decades, we eat carbohydrates, and that's what we do. And your body develops a resistance to it. You change your diet and it does not change a damn thing. And we got to very strategically go after things. There's an herb I'll usually use if people have like fatty liver and insulin resistance together. I'll use something called berberine, very, very effective for helping your body start to metabolize fats better. Black cumin seed is very good. And you just keep on going with those. And those often will help the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas start to helps you become a better fat metabolizer. And just real quickly, someone sent me a message on my phone. Like, what do you do if you have adrenal fatigue, or how do you support them daily? It would be worthy of me saying one of the best daily supports we have is something called an adrenal tonic. So at some point, if you could put that in our notes, if you would put up put a link where they can get them.
Yeah.
Generally, if you're thinking like, I know I stress myself out or I push my body regularly, support your adrenals before they go south. So one of the best things you can do is, of course, get a little sea salt in your diet, lots of good vitamin C, but there's this herb. Oh, wait, I do have it here. This is what it looks like. I literally don't leave home without it. Those of you who saw my video when I just traveled, I traveled with 2 of these for a 4-day trip. So this is, I don't know, can you see that?
Oh yeah, that's better. Yeah, okay, adrenal tonic.
Yeah, so
nice.
Combination of ashwagandha, rumania, licorice root, and echinacea. It supports the immune system as well. So that's kind of a side note. If you just want every day, this is good for my adrenals, boom, that's it. That's solid.
Yeah.
I'll
put up all the supplements that we talk about in the email we send out after the show. If you guys are in Zoom, I'll also send out that, and we'll also put it in Facebook up in the chat after the show, so that we can make sure everybody knows a recap of the supplements and where they can get it.
Awesome. And then if you guys have questions, I see a couple of you shooting them through. Send your questions in the chat, and we'll answer these as well here. And then I think I tackled all those for the weight loss. So all the labs. So I would do it if you can't lose weight and like you're getting a little tired and you're breaking down or anything like that, do an adrenal test. Like that would be important, because if your cortisol is either too high or too low, you're not going to lose weight. But probably before that, I would be more interested in see what we call your cardiometabolic panel. In my male or female panel, that's what I run. I make sure I have your insulin resistance and I see all your inflammatory markers. So for example, if your homocysteine is too high because you're not absorbing B12, you're going to have an inflammatory issue. And again, it'll just be difficult for you to lose weight. So that's kind of the last step when you lose weight, but check the other steps first.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Should we hit up some questions in the chat or move on to number 5?
Number 5. Let's see what we got. We'll get halfway, then we'll answer some questions.
Yeah, cool. Okay, what is the best bottled water to choose?
Bottled water. All right. Here's kind of a simple question. So here's what you want to look for. Listen, it needs to be spring water, and it has to have high minerals, which really means it has a very specific type of calcium in it. So if some of the bottles will list something called dissolved solvents, you want that number to be high, at least above 200, above 400 is best. But just brand wise, Perrier mineral water, fantastic. Just flat mineral water, one of the best out there locally. And this wasn't set up this way. I literally have this. My wife buys this all the time. Here in the States, it's this bottle right here, Mountain Valley. This is probably the best water you can get. And I think this is out of I know it's somewhere. I don't know. I got it Arkansas. Arkansas is right. Yeah, so it's out of Arkansas. I like this. So listen, Evian is just as good as water. I will lean toward this because it's a glass bottle, and I prefer not to do the bottled water. But like I said, I traveled, and sometimes when I travel, that's what I'm looking for. I would go from a Perrier, I go for the Mountain Springs first, Mountain Valley first. Then I'd go to a Perrier if I could, and then Fiji's up in there. There's Glacier Iceland is up there. But if you can get this guy right here, and he's popping up more and more because there's more people like you and I that are requesting high quality stuff, which is awesome. Can you guys see that? Like Mountain Valley, green bottom.
Yeah,
solid.
We can see it. Yeah. I don't think I can get it here, but you guys listening all can.
So what you're looking for is spring water. So the other things like reverse osmosis and stuff like that. So listen, I have reverse osmosis in my office, which because we use tap water coming in, so I clean everything out. Now it's empty. The challenge there is that when I drink it, it will tend to then leach out my electrolytes. So I have to replenish. So we have, like things that I put in the water when I'm at work, so I don't, so I don't deplete my body, or I can put a little bit of sea salt in there as well.
Okay, cool. Okay. Number 6.
Let's do the
questions.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Linda asks us, what causes thyroid nodules and how do we reduce or eliminate them?
Okay. All right. So, I'm not acting as your doctor, but I'm going to give you some tidbits here. So here's a couple things that I would do. Typically, those thyroid nodules are going to be caused from a lack of iodine. You need the goiters, nodules. That's typically what it is. Yet, before you go loading up with iodine, this is what I'd recommend. Just run a thyroid panel. You need a complete thyroid panel. I will, in this scenario, Linda, you could just reach out to our office, get a thyroid panel. We can send it to you, or if you're local, you can just run up to we give you a kit and run up to the thing. It's probably, I don't even know, it's like $150, but you need a complete thyroid panel. Just knowing your TSH and just knowing your T3 and T4 is not enough to understand what's taking place with your thyroid gland. The reason we need that thyroid panel is because we also have to know your antibodies and make sure that you don't have an autoimmune condition going on that could be affecting your thyroid. So if you know you have some nodules going on in there, get it tested. I'll be happy to help you out. If you have the full markers, awesome, send that to someone like myself, or find someone that knows how to kind of like analyze a thyroid panel. Most of the time, quite frankly, they're easy to fix up and clear up if you just get the right strategy going there. With that being said, if you leave it there and let those nodules grow, that means that one way or another, that gland is deficient. It's not working at its best. Remember, the thyroid does a lot of good things. It's part of your metabolic process. It also cleans your blood. So you want that thing working the best that it can.
Yeah, awesome. And I've put the details, Linda, for Balance Health Studio. You can just call the number there or the email info@balance38.com. And it doesn't matter where anybody is, right, Dr. Bart? People can work with you across the country.
Yeah, absolutely. We can send it anywhere. We can send it to you, and it's real simple. There'll be a blood draw. And so if I send it, let's just say I send it to someone up in Texas or down in Texas or something, they would just bring it to a local. We use LabCorp. We would find you an address of the closest LabCorp to you. You just go over there, you get a blood draw. Usually you don't even need an appointment. It takes like 5 minutes. We'll get the results in 2 days. We hop on a Zoom like this. We see what your thyroid is or is not doing. Then we create a strategy, and you become the best version of you. At least that's the idea.
Yeah, awesome. Love it. Cool. Okay, the next question here, the name on Zoom is Fiddler. Sorry, I'm not sure what your name is, but can you talk about lupus, Doc Bart? What can you do for this?
Okay. All right. So lupus, we put in the category of autoimmune. So autoimmune, any of them, folks. So listen, we are going to see autoimmune popping up more and more and more. And if you have one, you're going to most likely, if you don't change your ways, you're going to see more and more. So we consider, no matter what the tag is, Fiddler, that we have to take a full approach, meaning that we're going to look at everything, a multifaceted approach. We're going to look at diet, lifestyle, rest is going to be critical. We're going to detox the body and make sure we take care of any red flags. And what are the red flags? Could be adrenal fatigue. It could be things going on with your immune system. But when we have an autoimmune condition, it basically says at this point, your body is getting beat up. Probably number one on that list is your gut. So we've got to heal up the leaky gut. That's probably the primary cause of all autoimmune conditions out there. So even though, something like lupus might have specific symptoms that go with it, and we're chasing those symptoms, we've got to be very mindful of that. Got to get the gut cleaned up, got to get the body detoxified, got to heal the gut up, and then we've got to get the body strong and rested again. And most of the time, we'll be able to harness those autoimmune conditions. So I think that's my best answer for this environment. And then if you got lupus, if you want, reach out. We can dive a little bit deeper into that.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, cool. Number 6. Is genetic testing worthwhile?
Well, the interesting thing now is that there's more and more testing available. And I love testing. It's fascinating. Yeah, I will say this, just in general, the genetic testing, Karen, is probably more advanced. It's not where I would start. It's a little bit more advanced. So that some of the testing you get back and it'll tell you have this gene or that gene, and none of them mean bad or good. What you really have to figure out then is like, well, how do I extract this data and put it into everyday, commonplace action steps? And with that being, and often the genetic test can be very expensive. For example, you can run like a telomere test, and it just tells you how strong your telomeres are. It doesn't tell you what to do about them, but telomere testing is awesome. It lets you know, if you did a telomere test every year, it lets you know whether you're getting older or younger. So like, but it tells me nothing about strategy.
Yeah.
Now, first, if you have strategies in place, if you are healing up the obvious, your gut's getting strong, your adrenals are getting better, you're running a lab panel every year and you're seeing the other things, you're doing all those others, then do your genetic testing, 23andMe, longevity, Viome, all those others can be very, I don't even know if they're helpful, they're just part of the puzzle. But before I do those, typically with my clients, before I go to genetic testing, I look at the others. Let's get a base, like a foundation testing first. Yeah,
that makes sense. Really, there's probably some things people would need to do before they start looking at those extra things, that extra information that might come from genetic tests. And also, we were talking earlier about, a lot of the time you might go and get a genetic test, but you really need someone to interpret it or be able to really give you the action steps even when you do go and do it. So if you went and did a 23andMe or something by yourself, it's probably not as useful as if you actually are doing it with a practitioner that knows how to then take that information and put it into those action steps for you.
Yeah, Karen, that the interpretation of genetic testing is a beast by itself.
Yeah.
There's specific, that is very, very specific training. When I first had someone hand me a 23andMe, I didn't know what the heck to do with it. I literally had to go up and learn and understand, what is this data? How do I extract this data for, my patient, and then utilize and put a strategy behind it. So, so yes, I like genetic testing. I think we're going to continue to have more and more observations of what's going on and more great science. And what we can do with that really is going to be the bigger question. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's do the next one. Number 7. What causes burping and gas, and how do I fix them? This is one that people will ask in secret. They'll be super interested. They might not ask out loud, but people want to know.
Yeah, you're right. So this is, you know how I usually get this question? The wife. The wife.
Yes. Hey, my husband.
Yeah. It always comes like this. She always says, he says he doesn't have a gut issue, but he's burping all day long. He's holding his chest. So listen, there's some simple understandings to this. So in the event, and I shouldn't say just the husbands, girls just as much as this, and girls actually more often, and I'll explain why. Okay. So typically, this is a gallbladder that is getting sticky. It's getting sludgy. Now, when we have high estrogen levels, that estrogen, that hormone, which goes down into those glands like the gallbladder and liver, it can bind up in the gallbladder and start to become sludgy. And this is why we see so many women getting their gallbladders out, because those hormones are getting bound there, becoming sludgy, and then they create like gallstones and stuff like that. So this is an issue. We got to get this movement. And when that happens, we can't digest well. So your gallbladder produces something called bile. Bile is like, think of it almost as like it's like a juicy squirt, like it squirts on your stuff and it helps it slide through the intestines. And so it's supposed to be very thin. And when it gets sludgy, it doesn't work. So a couple things can happen. We burp because we're not breaking down the foods, the fats specifically. The good fats and the good proteins. We're having a harder and harder time breaking those down. So we have this indigestion type thing. It's not getting past the gallbladder, the upper part of the small intestine. Now, the same thing happens when that food does move through there. We get very gassy because it's not digested properly. So we're having a kind of a double issue there. And the bile's not sliding through here. So the simplest fix, and make sure we get this in the notes, because this is a game changer on many levels. This is what I'm going to give you. There's two things we can give you, but this will help the liver, the gallbladder, and hormones, believe it or not, especially high estrogen levels. This will help get the estrogen flushing through the body. And it's something, I use something called AF beta food. AF beta food is a beet product. It's the alkylamides of beets. Now they don't have all the sugar and all that stuff. So even one little pill is the equivalent of 9 beets. And that is one of the absolute best medicines for your gallbladder there is. Eating beets is great. Just daily, just on a regular basis. But for the clinical application, to have a therapeutic approach, I'll usually really high dose someone. I'll put them on close to 9 little pills a day for 30 days, and we'll flush that gallbladder right out. And that's, quite frankly, I do a couple more things when someone has gallstones and they say they're going to have their gallbladder out. If you can handle a little bit of the discomfort all the way, most of the times we'll get those gallstones dissolved. I use something, beyond just the AF beta food, but the gallbladder, listen, it is designed to do work. It is not designed to be cut out just because it gets a little sludgy.
Yeah. And I think, I know a lot of people that have their gallbladder out or have been recommended their gallbladder out. A lot of people don't realize that there's things that they can do for that. It seems to be a pretty common, people have issues and they do. That's a part of your body that's cut out. So,
Karen, I bet we have listeners right now that have and listen, if you do, no big deal. It just means that you've got to make sure that you're cleaner than everyone else. You've got to keep your liver cleaner. Intermittent fasting needs to be part of your game, because you got to make sure that, because only now your liver has ability to get the bile produced. So you have to play the game really smart now. So if you got your gallbladder out, hopefully, you've changed things up, because it didn't happen by accident. It's not because your gallbladder was bad. It got beat up is what happened. So one more thing I would add there. So the burping, and especially if there's some indigestion. So really in clinic, I'll often add 2 things. I do the AF beta food, and I do 9 a day. I try to go 3-3-3. And I do that specifically. So we're constantly supplying the gallbladder opportunity to start to thin that bile. Side effect, that is one of the best things for constipation, is thinning out. Yeah, that and magnesium, absolutely fantastic. So absolutely fantastic for anyone that is, getting some burping, gassing, and also constipated. And those things all go together. So it works like a charm, quite frankly. But I'll also use something called Zypan to help people digest better. and that's for the stomach. So you break it down better in your stomach, so when it gets to the gallbladder and the liver don't have to work as hard. Because that's really how it all happens. We, like I think it's almost been taught to, hey, you're about to eat a crappy meal, take this first. Like take Rolaids before the crappy meal, so your body doesn't even know the crappy meal is there. Like I know that, but it's crazy. But that's literally the education that you watch enough commercials on Sunday football around here, and you'll be like, oh, all I need to take that, and I won't feel all this indigestion. So, so we just got to be smart about that. If you got any gallbladder issues, any gas, indigestion, and it works like a charm, and for so many people, it does. That simple little beet product is amazing.
And okay, awesome. Well, we'll link to where people can get that, because I think a lot of people don't link that to their gallbladder. I think Okay. Let's go. The next one's a topic we talk about a lot because it is super important. Number 8, what are some sleep tips to help with sleep?
Sleep tips. Well, one tip that I recommend is don't have your dog in bed.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Do you stick to that tip?
No. Remember what I said earlier? Like, what you do it? That would be easier. Yeah. So I do sleep with my dogs, and I often pay for it dearly, but it's a price I'm willing to pay. Nonetheless. So sleeping. So this is always important. Single one of us never take sleep for granted. So it goes like this: cool, dark, and quiet. Same up, same down. That means you get up and down at the same time every day. That rhythm, getting in alignment with circadian rhythm, circadian clock, which is nature's clock, meaning you, for the most part, try to get up with the sun and go to bed with the dark, a couple hours after dark. So if it's getting dark here, at 6 o'clock, 8, 9 o'clock, you're not going to be in bed. All right, with that being said, cool, dark, and quiet, up and down at the same time. We're going to get rid of our phones. The phones, again, folks, the biggest sleep issues I see right now stem around those phones. We got these blue lights in front of us. That light from our phone, our computers, and even our TVs, but the phone is so much stronger than TV. We've taken it to a whole nother level. That phone, that blue light sends a signal into our eyes, and there's a gland right back here called your pineal gland. That's where your melatonin is. So when your melatonin gland is on, it releases melatonin. Did I say that right? When your pineal gland is on, it releases melatonin. When it shuts off, it stops. Now its on-off button is light. So in the morning when you wake up, the pineal gland is shut off because it sees the sunlight. So it shuts it off. You don't make melatonin in the morning. But if you're using the phone at night, it shuts off the melatonin production, and now you don't have anything to fall asleep. That being said, when it comes down to sleep, hear me out. These are the 3 most important things. We've talked about this for an hour before. I'm just going to blow through this. 1, you got to ask yourself, you got to find out, do you have a falling asleep problem? Do you have a staying asleep problem? Or do you have a waking problem, meaning you wake up and you're exhausted, you just can't get out of bed? You're a snooze person. Snooze, 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 snooze. Here's how it goes. If you have a falling asleep problem, that's the phone issue. That's a melatonin issue. Don't take melatonin. We want to get your body in a natural rhythm there. So I have 2 things I recommend. 1, valerian root is amazing. The beauty is that valerian root can actually help heal the pineal gland if it's been damaged. We damage it with chemicals, heavy metals. So valerian root can be very, very effective. We use 3 things in our office. 1, if I know that it's correlated, like you can't fall asleep because you're just wound up and it's stress, kava. Kava is a chill. Come here. Kava is the king when it comes to just getting your body to get out of sympathetic dominance and into just a relaxed state. So that's one of my absolute favorite for just unwinding the body physically, mentally, everything, just shutting it down at night. If you have a staying asleep problem, old school, simple, easy, breezy, got to start with magnesium. We use something called magnesium lactate. I like that one. It's very gentle on the body and it'll cross the blood-brain barrier. But if you're waking up at night, typically between 1 and 3, 1 and 4 a.m., typically you're deficient in magnesium and your liver is saying, hey, can't work. I can't do what I need to do. So boom, you wake up. So that's usually where I start people. So if you're having a hard time falling asleep, kava if it's stress. If it's just you can't get into the rhythm, it's valerian root. Sometimes use both. We do have a liquid tonic for those people that are like, Like, don't mind liquid herbs called a chill out tonic, especially if you're local, that'll be great. And then if you're waking up, so hear me close on this. If you're waking up, you're 8 hours deep into sleep, whatever, you're waking up and you are a snooze person and you're just pounding that, snooze bar just because you're just exhausted, get your adrenals tested. That's a sure sign. You got to get some testing done because something's out of balance at that point. Again, folks, sleeping and pooping are two of the most important human functions, and they should happen naturally and easily. So whatever it takes to get those right, that they become prioritized.
Yeah, don't assume that like you're, that you should be tired. Like get these things checked. Don't let your new normal become exhausted all the time, right? Or not sleeping. Hey, I just don't sleep good. You don't need to have that be your new normal. You can do some things about it. You can look into it. We can do some of these tests. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I was just at a conference up in, I flew into New York, but I was in Connecticut. And we had these like breakout rooms, and I talked up there. We were talking about health and all that good fun stuff, and moving forward and finding our edge. Awesome. I tell you what, it was just nice to connect with people. I'm telling everyone, listen, if you didn't hear my post today, flying is safe. Go fly, go on vacation, go see your family, go see your friends. It is good, and it's never been easier than it is right now. That being said, I got to connect with all these guys and entrepreneurs from around the country. And one of the guys, he said, "Hey, Dr. Belt, maybe you can help me. I've got a sleeping issue." And I talked about sleep from the stage, and prioritizing. He said, "Yeah, 21 years. I got insomnia. What are you doing about it?" Well, I drink a lot of coffee.
Right? Because it became his new normal. He just decided that he was somebody that didn't sleep good. Oh, I'm just someone who I don't sleep more than 4 hours, that's just.
Yeah. And that was my point. Sometimes we just accept our lack is normal. And no way. We're designed to be superhumans. So that's always the strategy. How do we get a little bit closer to our superhuman status?
Yeah.
What else we got?
Okay. We're going to have to go through these quickly. 9, give us your best ways to cleanse the liver.
Okay. Yeah, we got to go quick. All right. So listen, first thing I'll say, go slow. The liver holds the majority of the toxins that your body is ready to release, but it holds them because your body is not ready to accept them. So when people say, "Oh, I picked up this great liver cleanse online," you gotta be careful, because if you release the liver, and let's just say your gallbladder is a little sludgy and your bile isn't thin enough, all of those toxins circulate right back through the body. So when people say, "Oh, it's detoxing," no, you're just toxifying again. Not even detoxing, you're toxifying again. So go slow. So this is what I recommend. If you want to detox your liver, which I think is phenomenal, Chinese medicine, we always say, you live by the way of your liver. So there's a couple things. One, you got to get clean. Commit to at least 3 days of organic food. Remember, all those chemicals, we mentioned it earlier. You eat genetically modified food, pesticides, herbicides, glyphosate. They will go to your liver, they will go to your fat cell, and they will sit there. And then the only way that your body's going to let them out is if everything else is cleaned out. So you got to get clean first. Definitely do some intermittent fasting. Get used to it. Get yourself up. If you're a female, 14 to 16 hours, a male, 18 to 20. I'm sorry, 16 to 18. So that's number one. We got to get clean. Number 2 is milk thistle. Absolute best, oldest, been around for thousands and thousands of years. Get yourself on milk thistle. Quite frankly, every one of us should be on milk thistle every day at this point. Between EMF, like the radiation that we're taking in, the poor foods we're putting in the body, poor quality of air, poor quality of water, milk thistle is the safest. It is the most gentle, but it's the most powerful. It is a detoxifier, and it will restore a damaged liver. So you don't have to go crazy. You could just go with the first 30 days. If we use the milk thistle that I use, which is one of the highest quality herbs in the world, the milk thistle, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. I do that for 30 days, and then just 1 in 1. And that's a good one to stay on. So the number 3 is this, celery juice, literally not blending. So the fiber is good for us, yes, but juicing. Literally juicing, 30 days straight of organic celery juice. Listen, if you're local Of course, we have it at our place, so you're glad to do it. But one of the things you'll notice, first off, you don't really like the taste. A little taste to get a little difficult to get used to. It takes you about a week usually. You will start eliminating properly because it'll help with the bile salts, and you start to get stuff out of your body in a good, healthy way, fast, which is really, really cool. And it's a very, very safe way. So if you want to do a liver detox, clean food, commit to it 100%. Celery juice, milk thistle. So that being said, you know who asked for liver cleanses?
Who?
People who drink all the time.
Yeah, I should have known that one. Yeah, so that could be another tip. Maybe, hey,
So listen, this is what I say. I'm in wine country. If you're drinking wine every night, you should be on milk thistle, period. Oh, I only drink 5 nights a week. You should be on milk thistle. This is your liver. It's your body. Like, you live by the way of your liver. That's your aging process of your liver. So it's too simple. So get on some milk thistle and start drinking some celery juice. That's it.
Yeah. And maybe, don't drink as much alcohol. We'll see how you go with that. Yeah, you can reduce. Yeah. Okay, next one is I bruise easily. What does that mean?
Okay. And this will probably be our last one. We're right at that time. All right. So great to end on it because this is almost fun. So Karen, I'm going to toss in here, bruise easy and your gums bleed when you floss. Okay. If either one of those symptoms, this is a vitamin C deficiency. But time out before you go off and run and get ascorbic acid. That won't do anything for it. And that is what most people, like, they pick up their bottle and it says ascorbic acid, and that's not going to do much for it. So this you need the full complex vitamin C. We use the best I use is something called Cyruta Plus. Hopefully you're making a note of all these.
I'm gonna get them.
Cyruta Plus it's kind of like a high dose vitamin C. Now, what's cool about this is this. So when you bruise easy, you look down, you have bumps and bruises and colors on your legs, and you don't even know. Like, listen, if you wail into the side of a table and it hurts and you got a bruise, that's different. But you get these little blues, or you start to see the top of your hands, and you guys see this in your grandmas and people that are taking an aspirin a day. What that means is that you have capillary fragility. Means your capillaries are not strong. And what that really means is that the way that your cells are binding up, it's your connective tissue is weakening. So what's happening with the vitamin C is that it's helping your connective tissue become stronger. And that's what I mean by the capillary fragility. We're literally going to rebuild those cells. When you bleed in the gums, you're not getting those nutrients. People are like, I don't get it. I eat good all the time. It could be from stomach acids. It could be from stress. Remember the adrenals? The adrenals store 50 to 70%, maybe even a little bit more of all your vitamin C. If you're always pushing, you're dumping that vitamin C. So in the event that you bruise easy, you bleed with gum, like when you floss your teeth, that is not okay. That is not normal. That tells us that you have capillary fragility, and we want to strengthen that connective tissue. And one of the absolute best for that is using a really, really good natural source of vitamin C. So in that Cyruta Plus, and the ingredients, if you looked at it, you'll see bovine adrenal. It's partly a glandular. So you're actually consuming the very thing that helps them get better. And Karen, you'll see that too. People, like I think I said earlier, like adrenals are all tied into it. Like if you scratch and you just don't heal as fast, that kind of falls into that category. We got to build that capillary strength. Classic sign is someone who takes an aspirin a day. Take an aspirin a day. Your body, that aspirin breaks down the hydrochloric acid in your stomach. You cannot absorb vitamin C, magnesium, and zinc as well as you used to. Whatever's farthest from the heart gets the least amount of nutrients, which is your hands. You touch your hands all the time. You put them in pockets. It starts to break those capillaries just by going into your pocket, opening up a car door so you see people, so you can spot everyone who's taking an aspirin a day.
Wow. Yeah. And I think these are just more things where, like, we need to pay attention to some of these little signs, right? We were talking about the gum bleeding one earlier, and that's something a little bit that I've accepted as a bit of a a new normal, and we need to not, like, when these things happen, we can again, there's signs from our body, all right? It's our body talking to us that, hey, we need a little bit of attention here. And so if we can learn to like dial in and hear, hey, then we can, I don't know, get some of these issues when they're smaller issues rather than leaving them for 21 years. I'm sure, you know, you leave something for 21 years, you've got a much bigger issue to deal with, right? Or it takes longer for the body to be able to heal.
Yeah, exactly. And the word you used was right on. It's the awareness.
Yeah.
These little things. And that's why I really have fun doing an episode like this. Because it just goes, oh, I can fix that. I recognize that. And is listening to the feedback of our body. And the body never lies. So all of these things, we're always getting feedback. And then if we can listen to the feedback and we can, have little strategies to utilize it, then, that's the path to being superhuman.
Yeah, I love it. And look, we've got a quick question. I know we're kind of out of time, but Sam Alexander is posted in the chat. What do you think about HRT? We did a whole show where we dived into that. Do you want to make a couple of comments quickly? And what we'll do, Sam, is I'll also link to the other episode, because if you can go back and listen, we had Dr. Rhonda on, and we went right into HRT and I guess your views on it as well as hers.
I think really the best is just go watch that video, because we walked and talked to it. For me to see that here are different, so it's the understanding of it all is really, really powerful. And I think the only thing I would say there, Karen, is just that just because something's low doesn't mean that we have to make it high. So when we have I have low progesterone, I have low testosterone, doesn't mean that we have to take something from the outside, put it in us just to make it high. Understanding all of that is probably the bigger picture. So just if you can link to that other episode, that would be awesome.
Yeah, we'll link to that other episode as well, so you can check it out. Well, we always need to end on our final question. So we went through so many topics. I love that. I learned something from doing this. I thought that was super fun for me. So I hope you guys all thought the same. But out of all this, what's the action step today? So what's one action our listeners can take to take them one step closer to their goal of becoming superhuman?
I should have known this question was coming too, right?
I'm
gonna go back to what I think I always say, and it's that sleep to win. Yeah, really, really, really start to be mindful of. For me, I think I've shared with the audience. I'm 50. For me to analyze and use data right now to figure out what my body's really doing has become more important than ever. I use something called an Oura ring. I picked up a new watch, so I want to really see, because here's why. My mind is strong. I'm a motivated guy, and I got to be careful with that. I've got to start to listen to my body better than I ever did. So one, I'm crystal clear. The data does not lie that my body likes it better when I get more than 7 hours and 15 minutes of sleep. It's like my prime number. That and above, superhuman status. I go below and I'm playing catch up. So I would tell the audience this: whatever it takes for you to get a higher quality, powerful sleep, you will become a more powerful human being.
And I love that that's the action, because I think we need more people to put importance on sleep rather importance on hustling through, pushing through. There's such a culture of downgrading the importance of sleep. So I think if we keep, hopefully more and more people keep talking about it, so it becomes, becomes cool to sleep rather than to push through and only sleep 4 hours, right?
No doubt. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool, guys. Well, that was an awesome show. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back the same time next week. Thanks so much, Dr. Bart. As I said, I've learned a lot in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had fun. I hope that everyone got a little bit from this. So as you will, everyone, again, Paris's birthday. So happy birthday to Paris, my girl.
Happy birthday, Paris.
Doing our thing. Let's keep leveling up. Make sure we take deliberate action for our mind, for our body, for our overall wellness. And y'all be awesome.